Thank you for joining us on Business and Economy, and joins us to discuss the tax system in Nigeria, how efficient it is HAMEED SOYEMI, a chartered accountant. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure that I introduced you very well. I got the name very well.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. Thank you for joining us on the program once again.
My pleasure.
Let's start this way. What is your overview of the tax system in Nigeria, the current tax system in Nigeria?
Yeah, well, the tax is started by law. And not only that, if one looks at what Jesus Christ said, that give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, or when you look at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I did mention that we should pay zakat, So if you have to draw from that a certain percentage will be paid out of your wealth in a 12 calendar month, and that goes to shows that the common income tax you will be paid at the end of the when you ascertain your profit, or ditto when you collect your salary, you should pay part of it to the central body, such that the tax will try to regulate the community. Okay. So it will collect from those that have and use it to help those that have not, and so that they could live in harmony. Having said that, you also want to go further and begin to see the implementation of these norms, that is collecting from those that have, okay, and using it to take care of those that have not. And who is the central among them is the government. Okay. So if government live up to its expectation, there will be people will tend to do the which. And when you look at Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was just implementing the zakat that he collected from people. He used it judiciously. Now, but when you look at government, the current government that we have, the type of government we are running, it's unfortunate that we are not getting the right peg in the right hole. You're getting square peg in a circular hole. So that gives a problem, and people are discouraged, from carrying out their statutory duties, which is payment of taxes, to improve those that have not. Having said that, we need to look at both the federal government and the state government and the local governments. Each of them has their own sphere where they take their taxes, and in drawing taxes, you use it to cushion the social and infrastructural development of the polity.
Okay. What brought about this tax, the IGR? What brought about it, internal generated revenue?
Now, why people tend to use IGR simultaneously with the tax is what government could do, have direct access to ensure that it fulfills its socio-economic mandate. And you could only do that when you take from the polity. When I say polity, I mean those that have and those that do not have. And I could break it down that for state government, for federal government, they are mandated to collect taxes from cooperative bodies. Okay. That is companies and those that are in those that reside at the federal capital territory. Okay. They collect their payee. Okay. But when you come to the state government, the state government collects from individual and unregistered name. That's those proprietary names and whatever. So they collect their taxes from them, and the local governments tries to collect from the community in terms of tenement rates, in terms of advert, in terms of liquor and license and what have you. So if government gets it right, the compliance will be much more better. And if one looks at what has happened in Lagos State compared with what's happening in Ekiti State, you could see that when there is no feasible means to point to what government is using the taxes to do, it won't really be encouraging. But we tell you, dated back to 1999 when Tinubu was first there, we could look at IGR for just less than 600 million.
You said, let me put it this way, people wanting to pay tax, of course, it has to be an enabling environment for you to be able to pay the tax. And of course, if they see the federal government or the state or the local government doing something about the tax, definitely they will want to pay their tax.
Yes.
So who is taxable? Because you said something about those who are working and not working. So who is taxable?
Yeah, okay, yeah, but let me expand it further. The taxable person is somebody that's engaged in economic activities and earns salaries. So when you have salaries, you are supposed to pay fractional part of it to government. That's what we call pay as you earn system. You also have others who are not earning salary, but they are doing businesses. But at the end of the year, they remunerate themselves, and we call those ones the direct assessment. Direct assessment will be to those that are not on salary, but they could withdraw from the businesses they are operating just to meet up their obligations. So government will tax them using what they call direct assessment. But to salary earners, government will use payee to track them. And beyond that, there are also taxes, several taxes on properties, Yeah, you could see what Lagos State is doing in the land use charge, or you could also see the advert, what LASA is doing, and a whole lot of other sources then. Like some government are proactive, they invest in blue chip companies, they have investment companies that they hand dividends. And also those they are also what we call withholding tax on dividend, and investors, that when the public quoted companies pay their dividends, they normally withhold some portions which they pay to either state government or federal government. They will pay to federal government if it is a limited liability company. But if it is an enterprise, when I say enterprise, that's a business name, me and you and some me enterprises, artisans that buy shares, individuals that buy shares, they will withhold some portion and they will pay to.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Given your analogy earlier, you said the zakah, you giving the Prophet Muhammad example, saying taking from the rich and giving to the poor, or probably to suit some probably hard situation. Now, but given the current tax system, would you say we have a balanced and fair tax system in Nigeria, given your analogy earlier?
Yeah, I would say to a limited stage is fair, but what it could also, if you look at it, there are two sides to a coin. Okay. To those that are looking at from the tail, they will say, yeah, it's fair. But those at the other side, they will say it's unfair. Okay. There's multiple taxations, so to say. That's where you have the same tax being collected by different layers of government. And I want to cite this example, like you use the VAT, it's paid on goods and services. But now Lagos State introduced the consumption tax. So if you go to eateries, you pay that consumption tax. If you go to hospitality, just for hospitality services, you pay consumption tax. Now, well, one could also look at if you are not affluent, you won't go to eateries, but rather you go and buy the fish, buy pepper, and you cook at home. So depends on the what about those ones that are paying their taxes. Like for example, Mr. Hay, who works in the Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Finance, he has the salary, he has already fulfilled his obligation. But because he's in the middle class, let's say, we'll call them maybe BC social strata, Yeah, rather than stay in house to eat, you prefer to go and eat outdoor. And there you pay additional tax. Beyond that, the federal government will collect VAT for the goods and services. The state government is also charging the VAT for the same, as that we call that consumption tax. To some it's unfair, to some it's fair.
But you talk about multiple taxation.
Yeah.
Isn't that an unfair, tax system? How do we, ensure a balanced and a well-structured tax system that everybody will not be left out?
Again, when I mean, that's just a fractional part of multiple taxations. Then, where you really get the heat of double taxation is where this algon, when you travel out, they will say, okay, because you are riding a brand new car, you should be a company, you must pay 5,000. You see some tout on the roads. So they will relay you and begin to collect all sorts of, they will look for stickers, you have these stickers, you have that stickers. And for God's sake, it's the same thing if you've done it in state A, it's not compulsory that you did in state B. They will say it's amalgamation, they just all sorts of means to extort. So, coming back to what you earlier said, that the double taxation, coming again,
I'm talking about the multiple
taxation
right now. Okay, or let me put it this way. Why is the government not reforming the tax system or restructuring the tax system, given some of the analogy you have? It means that if you have a group collecting tax, this one collecting tax, different layers of group collecting tax from different people, it means that it is an unfair system. It is not a balanced system. So would you recommend a reform in the tax system?
Yeah, there have been reforms. We will have a central body that's called Joint Tax Board. So each state commissioners, chairman of revenue body in each state, they meet together with the federal counterpart. They agreed and agree a common position concerning taxes that we paid by A and B and C, and at what level. So they agree on that. But you find out that in the implementation, because state A is because of the different political parties, they want to contract this to their tout. They want to give it to their cronies, and they come out with various sort of things, and they even have the legal, I would say illegal backing, maybe some police harassment, just to intimidate and ensure that they extort money from people. So I would say that was unfair because it's not within the norms, within the law, but it's done because of impunity in the system. So we just hope that with the change in the air, things will be done within the ambit of law. So, but those that collects on the highway are really working against what Joint Tax Board approves.
Let's go to the federal government now. It seems that the federal government, based on the analysis you have, they're making so much money from the civil servant, those who are working in the office, and then from the company. Would you say that the government is raking in money? And do you have an idea of how much is internally generated is bringing in per annum or per quarter, depending?
Yeah. Every state has every state that want to really develop striving harder to improve their IGR. And if you look at those states that are well developed, that are not owing salaries, that are those that have really improved on their IGR collection. So take for example, I will use Lagos State and Benue State.
Okay.
Yeah, Lagos State is opportune then and well positioned, and they will say they are the pace setters in terms of IGR because they marshal and ensure that before they will begin to be at the top end, they initially do enforcement. Enforcement drives compliance, and such that prior to 2004 or 5, the IGR was so low just because people are not really care about paying taxes. And so they commence tax audits to various companies and individuals. Before you know, some were really penalized, and with the enforcement, people tend to succumb. And not only enforcement, they are also seeing the judicious use of the taxes collected from the Lagosians there. So they now begin to comply, such that compliance rate improved tremendously, and also delivery of social infrastructure has also matches the growth of development. But if you go to Benue State, you will see that, yeah, the little ones that were collected were not judiciously used, and beyond that, they don't really hire professionals, to support in identifying key opportunities. And you cannot improve your IGR without also spending money.
A lot of people talk about, corruption.
Yeah.
That is the bane of the challenge we are having now. And most of the, tax collected, sometimes we heard that they are not really properly accounted for. How would you expect the incoming government, to harmonize the tax system in Nigeria to ensure that all of these money, internally generated revenue collected, goes into every sector of the economy, and then, of course, the impact is felt in the rich sector and the ordinary Nigerian on the streets?
Yeah, you see, we want to give kudos to leaders that have vision, and that one who continue to make reference to Lagos because it's the master of automated IGR collection, and it has not only implement and make a success of it. Other states have emulated the state in copying their system of revenue collection, because that has reduced what goes out as filter with the civil servants. You see that anytime you pay, there's a receipt, electronic tax clearance, electronic receipts. Just one covers the fielding with government revenue to the barest minimum, and that accounted for improve in the IGR.
Okay.
But you go to some other states, they still use the manual receipts. Even federal government uses the manual receipts, and in that process, they won't account. They will be waiting for subvention, whereas all the monies they are collected, they are not accounting for it. They will say subtract this, subtract that. At the end of the day, what is the summation of what they collected during the period? It's not there. So what will cancel that the federal government comes to Lagos and even talk to the internal revenue services to see what they've done to minimize the privilege in the taxes collected.
Before I go on to laying down some questions some people have asked,
Yeah.
you talked about local government, state government, and the federal government.
Yeah.
The way they generate tax.
Yeah.
Yes, fine. Now, what is the primary source of the local government tax? Because you mentioned a few of them from the federal government, such as the wages, that's the payroll, corporate responsibilities, and what have you. I didn't hear you say anything about real estate and the rest of them. So what is the primary source for the local government?
I mentioned initially some states you use the tenement rates. Tenement rates are local government property taxes. So local ought to collect tenement rate. But a situation that it is dissolved into one, so state others say use land use charge. For example, Lagos use the land use charge. So those areas that are paying land use charge will be exempted, but they have a sharing formula to do that. But those ones that are not enumerated, they pay tenement rates to the local government. But beyond that, you have kiosks, you have advert, you have markets, and whatever.
Okay, there's some questions that came in from some people. They said, why do people think they evade tax?
Yeah, tax evasion. Yeah, Okay, yeah, you're going further deep into tax. Yeah, we have what we call tax avoidance and tax evasion. If you fail to pay tax, then this you are evading, and that's a criminal offense. But you could avoid tax by taking decisions and advice that will make you to, would I say avoid? Okay, reduce your tax liability as against not paying. You could evade taxes, that's a criminal offense, but you could avoid by professional advice, even though you are committing the same offense.
Is that also legal? Is it backed by law?
Tax avoidance, because of professional advice, you could you can reduce your tax.
Would you use the word like
would it not depend on the
manipulating?
wage? Because it would not depend on the wage, because if I earn 15 naira this month,
Yeah,
and it's likelihood that I might not earn that 15 naira next month. Of course, it's not dependent upon the
Yeah,
wage.
so if you earn 50 naira and okay, you're having a mortgage that you really need to finance, so that would be exempt. But for you not paying, more disclosing that you have mortgage financing, so
that now becomes a criminal offense.
yeah. So I mean, not that. I mean, by disclosing that, you will have avoided some taxes that you should pay. But if you collect 50 naira, you are not paying anything at all on it. That's evasion. You are not avoiding, but you could have 50 naira, but if you disclose these are the things that you need to be exempted from paying, and because of this and this and that, instead of paying 20,000 or 20 naira, you could end up paying 10 naira or 5 naira. So that's avoidance. But evasion, if you don't pay at all on the 50 naira, that's evasion, where you ought to have paid 25 naira and you didn't pay the 25 naira. That's, you are evading tax. But if you pay 5 naira, you might have avoided that's avoided because of professional disclosure.
Two questions.
Yep.
Two questions. One, is pension taxable?
No, pension is not taxable.
What is the effect of the IGR?
Effect on IGR. You have age brackets. So when you have contributed to your quota during your working life, you will be exempted during your retirement. So because by then, if you're over 70, one would not expect that you'll still be earning the same income, still have the same energy that you're earning. And also, the fractional part is only a fractional part of your salary you'll be earning during the pension age. So to penalize that again would be injustice there compared to those ones that are still making 100% as their income, as against those that are making 20% for pension.
Well, thank you very much. We'll have to, on this note, we'll have to just close it here now, which we can talk more.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much for being part of the show. We've been talking and speaking with HAMEED SOYEMI, a chartered accountant. Thank you for coming on the show once again.
My pleasure.
Well, this is where we close the show today. I am Frank Omalapeh.
And I am Sabena Izoukpu.
We'll see you tomorrow.